You're trying to fight in the flesh, but the system is in the spirit. It's in the spirit world. Why are things so hard for me? Why do I take 2 steps forward and get knocked 3 steps back? Why is it hard for me to do things that other people do easily? It's because he earmarked you. Cult means you're not orthodox. Means you're not natural. You're not normal. Agra means land. That means that wheat is not normal to the land. You can't just wish for it. You have to make it happen. Timing is everything. Timing is absolutely everything. You have to do things at the right time or you're not going to have the effect that you would have had because you don't understand. Timing is absolutely everything. I've given this illustration before, but I want to paint it again for you that have not heard it. Harlan Sanders built an amazing business because he did the right thing at the right time. KFC came at a time in the American history that women had just started to go to work. It came at a time in history that families were still sitting around the table. It solved a problem. How can we simulate a family dinner without the woman being home to cook? Doing the right thing at the right time. It wasn't just about the chicken is good. It was that the need was great. It solved the problem and it came at the right. If he opened up now, he'd go bankrupt. You can sustain it at this level, but you can't start it at this level because now if you open it up, they want to know, is it gluten-free? Do you have vegan chicken? I'm a pescatarian. They were not asking those questions at that time. Success is as much about timing as it is about anything else. Do you know what time it is in your life? I've got a watch on my wrist. I've got a phone, both of them backing up so that I know what time it is in the day. But do I know what time it is in my life? I can only be fruitful in my season. You shall bring forth fruit in your season. Your leaf shall not wither, and whatsoever you do shall prosper. You have to know when it's your season, and you have to know when it's over. You have to know when to hold it. You have to know when to fold it. You cannot see folding as failure. It's all about timing. Wheat is planted with great intentionality. In other words, wheat is not going to grow in this ground if it is not planted. It is not a natural result of the climate, the soil, the rain, and the sunshine. It has to be planted. Nobody succeeds accidentally. Nobody wins a marathon accidentally. Nobody wins the Olympics accidentally. Nobody gets a master's degree accidentally. Nobody gets a diploma accidentally. Nobody passes a GED accidentally. Nobody gets a promotion accidentally. Just because you pray doesn't mean you win. This is work. This is sweat. This is labor, because this is agriculture. And agriculture means that the intention of sowing the seed is that I might have wheat. And the intention of having wheat is that I might have bread. From seed to wheat to bread is going to take. I can't plant seed today and eat bread tonight. So if I am going to be seedful, I have to be patient for the seed to grow first down and then up. It's going to first grow down and then up. Some of you are standing over your life talking about, I don't see nothing. I don't see nothing. I keep sowing and I don't see nothing. The seed grows down before it grows up. You're not supposed to see it, but just because you don't see it doesn't mean that the roots are not growing in the soil. And if you wait a little while, it is going to go from seed to wheat, and from wheat to bread. And there is work in between every stage. The seed is work, the wheat is work, the bread is work. You cannot eat any better than you work. Your blessing is going to be work. When you get through dancing and shouting about the promise of God, understand that you're going to have to break some sweat. You're going to have to put some effort in it. You're going to have to grind the wheat. You're going to have to pulverize it. You can't just bring the wheat in and make bread until you crush it. It's got to be crushed. It's got to be made into a usable form. And so it doesn't mean that God hasn't blessed you with the bread. It could mean that you haven't put in the work to go from seed to wheat to bread. I might not be ready for consumption right now, but I'm in process and I'm going somewhere. And don't look down at me because I'm not bread. I may be in the wheat stage, I may be in the seed stage, but I am on my way to a place that God has destined for me. Who am I talking to this morning? Whoever I'm talking to, God says, hang on in there. I'm not finished with you yet. I'm taking you through process, and at the right time, I'm going to take you from seed to wheat, and from wheat to bread. I want you to get this. The reason it is planted is because it is not indigenous to the land. The word agriculture is rooted in the word cult. Cult means you're not orthodox, means you're not natural, you're not normal. Agra means land. That means that wheat is not normal to the land. You can't just wish for it. You have to make it happen. Agriculture, culture. I'm gonna make this happen. It is not indigenous. You don't get it just because you want it. You gotta plant it. You gotta be intentional about it. You gotta work on it. You gotta labor for it, because you were not raised in an environment that agrees with your dream. That doesn't mean you can't have it. It means that you've got to be cultural enough to be a cult against your neighborhood. I'm the only one in my family. I'm the only one in my neighborhood. I'm the only one in my city. I'm the only one in my house. And they don't like me at the family reunion. And they don't invite me back to the parties. And my friends have changed because I am cultish to them. I broke the rule. I got out. Faith is a cult to the unbeliever. It is not natural to the unbeliever. Stop trying to make the people at work understand what they can't understand. It is not indigenous to them for them to believe. You got to be willing to be different. You've got to be willing to be controversial. You've got to be willing to be talked about. And the greatest problem in our community right now is that we are so sensitive. We're more worried about being liked than we are being fruitful. And you're praying to God about what they said, and she said, and he said. What they say about you doesn't matter. Weeds don't like wheat. Get it to your head. Weeds don't like wheat. You got to decide, do you want to be wheat or do you want to be weeds? Whenever there is great potential for harvest, the enemy will always earmark the spot with calamity. So wherever the enemy sees potential, he will always earmark it with calamity. So they never planted weeds before the wheat. Notice the sequence. It was the wheat being planted that caused them to plant the weed. They didn't plant the weed and then plant the wheat. The wheat attracts the weed so that the enemy can earmark the spot. The devil knew God was going to bless you. Hell knew God was going to use you. Hell knew that God had a purpose for your life. He earmarked it with calamity. Notice this, the weeds was planted too. Planted like spies behind enemy lines. Whatever went wrong in your life, whatever calamities happened in your life, whatever calamities that happened in your past, whatever trauma you went through in your life, in your childhood, was the enemy's way of earmarking the spot. He knew it wasn't time yet, but he started working underground before you ever came up, so that he would have his system in place. Before you became fruitful, he would already have his infrastructure in place, so you would have something to struggle with. Why are things so hard for me? Why do I take 2 steps forward and get knocked 3 steps back? Why is it hard for me to do things that other people do easily? It's because he earmarked you. Why am I so doubtful? Why am I so insecure? Why am I so needy? Why am I so petty? He earmarked you. While men slept, the enemy came and planted the weeds. Also, wherever there was wheat, there would be weeds, with intentionality too. He meant for you to be abused. I hate to tell you this. He meant for you to be molested. He meant for your father to hate you. He meant for your mother to give you to your grandmother. He had to start the infrastructure early, because once you became fruitful, it would be too late to do anything to you. He had to start it early in your life so you would be broken in all the right places. You're not just fighting a demon, you're fighting a system. You're fighting a system that has been launched against you. But the only reason it's been launched is because you are weak. The enemy seeks to corrupt the environment where God has seed in the ground. When we first meet him in Genesis, he is slithering in the garden. We will always find him slithering in the garden. The snake is stealthy and cunning. He waits till they're asleep, because he knows that if he would have come while they were awake, they would have driven them away. So while men sleep, he slithers. He waited till nobody was looking. He waited till nobody was at home. He waited till you don't get to see him planted, and I don't get to see what he planted. He is covered by the darkness of night, and his craftiness is hidden under the soil. When they wake up that morning, they see no difference. How many of you have gone through something and nobody saw no difference. When the men woke up that morning, they didn't know when they were watering the wheat, they were watering the weeds. And the infrastructure has now become a system underground before the wheat comes up, before the wedding, before the degree. You're fighting a system. You're not fighting a devil. You're fighting a system. You are fighting an infrastructure. The war is underground. The tangle is underground. You're trying to fight on top of the soil, but the system is underground. You're trying to fight in the flesh, but the system is in the spirit. It's in the spirit world. Corruption and destruction are two different things. He could not destroy the wheat. So all he could do was corrupt the environment in which the wheat was coming. He couldn't stop you from coming up. He just wanted to make it hard for you. He cannot kill my destiny. He cannot kill my future. He cannot kill what God has for me. He cannot. Kill what God has ordered. He cannot curse what God has blessed. If I was blessed in my root, I'm going to be blessed in my fruit. You cannot curse what God has blessed. The demons cannot curse you. Your trials cannot curse you. What they say about you cannot curse you. While they taunt you cannot curse you. How they make fun of you